I used to watch the X-Files.
You're on.
Yeah, that scares me, and I'm fearless.
All right, next one. Proposition 112 111 would rename the position of Arizona Secretary of State to Lieutenant Governor. It's fairly straightforward, except for a couple of bumps that I don't think the writers, I'm pretty sure the writers of the proposition did not intend. The basic idea is that we have a Lieutenant Governor instead of a Secretary of State, and this Lieutenant Governor does everything that the Secretary of State currently does. And you then, as you're going towards elections, you're going to tie the two offices together as a single ticket, the way we vote for Vice President and President currently on the same ticket. Now, what you'd end up doing under this is within a party, say you've got a Republican Party primary, one guy or gal ends up as Lieutenant Governor, one guy or gal wins the primary as governor. They would then run together as a single ticket for the general election, and it's all or nothing to get those two on. Here's the hiccup, I think, is that it would probably, the way it's written now, it would probably make it so that independents cannot get into either of those offices. In Arizona, an independent is not part of the independent party. An independent is a party not declared, is a person with a party not declared. So, you know, it's like basic logic. You can't, you know, someone who's not in a party cannot team up with the same party from someone who's also not in the party. So I believe the legislature can go back and fix that, and I think it behooves them to do that. But I understand a lot of people who like to, I know a lot of people in the Tea Party movement are independents or were recently independent or have a lot of sympathy for the idea of remaining independent and would like to see somebody be able to rise up and, although it doesn't seem to happen really, or it hasn't happened yet, they'd like to see some independent candidate be able to rise up and become governor of Arizona. So, question?
Do you by any chance know how this is handled in other states that have this same legislation currently?
I don't. I haven't studied it.
Okay.
Look at California.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I think practically speaking, in a lot of places, there are so few independents that really get even competitive that it doesn't seem like an issue. But okay. They ought to be able to at least get, I think most people would think as a matter of fairness, they ought to be able to get their names on the ballot. Yes, sir?
Just a comment. It's kind of hard for me to understand how they can write this proposition and not intended to do just that, to run them together. I don't think it was, you know, it doesn't seem like it was by accident. It seems like it's by design. So, and that would be more important than just changing the title.
I understand. Some people would look at this and see a conspiracy by the big two parties to shut anybody else out. No. And I wouldn't necessarily put it past them, but I would also, having been around the legislature a while, I wouldn't underestimate the power of the legislature to pass something and then look back and say, oops, you know, and realize that there was some unintended consequence. Because after all the people who are down at the legislature, they're all Republicans or Democrats. So maybe they're not thinking when they draft. I don't know. I have no idea if there was some intentional aspect to this. Yes, sir?
Do we not have Governor Brewer now because of the system as it stands now?
Yes.
And we would have a Democratic governor if this law passed?
This is one of those. This is one of those things I always caution people when it's a procedural change. You never know how it's going to cut. With procedural changes in government, you never know how they're going to cut. The people who created the Arizona clean election, so-called clean election system, were mostly, I would say, liberal do-gooders and John McCain type Republicans. And there was a huge unintended consequence to the clean election system, which is that it tended to polarize the party system. So because you got, well, what happens, I believe, is that you got a lot fewer moderate candidates coming out of the primary process than you did before clean elections. I believe the clean elections has polarized the parties so that you have a more radically progressive left-wing Democrat who gets out of a lot of primaries now, and you have a more conservative Republican who gets out of primaries. So paradoxically, and I think against the intended consequences of the legislation, this has actually probably made the Arizona legislature more conservative than it would have been without clean elections, without the so-called clean elections system. So anytime you get ready to do something procedural to try to change the procedures of politics, I would just caution you that you never know how it's going to cut.
But the way it's written now, it's going to force us to vote party line instead of person.
And a lot of independents are rightly, I think, unhappy with Proposition 111 for that very reason. Should we go to the next one?